Okay, let's go to British Columbia. Another poll out of BC, and another online poll that again is showing a close race, almost identical to the Research Co poll we saw a little while ago from Leger. 42% for the New Democrats, 39% for the Conservatives, 10% for BC United, and 8% for the Greens. First comment, Leger, if you're listening, please clean up your charts
Oh my
for
God.
the BC polls. They're very confusing.
They are terrible. They are terrible.
We like the polls. We like the data. Presentation. Give us time to refresh that. Refresh it. Anyway, thoughts on the actual poll?
Okay, so there's convergence, but I think we mentioned that when we saw the Research Co poll from about 2 weeks ago. It was already August. Now that the online polls have caught up to the IVRs, I really want to see what the next IVR says.
Yes.
Will they converge? Was this just a timing issue? Or is there really a mode effect? I mean, the next IVR, if we follow the trend lines and we do parallel lines between the two modes, we could have the Conservatives at 44 and the NDP at 38 in the next poll. We could see a Conservative +5 or +6. And if that's the case, we have a very interesting issue on our hands. But for now, it looks like to be a very close race between the two parties, with the NDP holding an edge because of older voters and because of the map. The map is advantageous to the NDP. What do we make of the BCU now at 10%? They can't win a seat if they lose 2/3 of their support, right? I mean, the odds that it happens are really, really low. Am I wrong about that?
I don't know how you manage to win seats when you're a big party and you go down to 10%. Like, it's not when you're a small party that gets up to 10%, because usually your support is concentrated in a few ridings where maybe you elected someone or had some good candidates. When you're a big party and your vote drops that much, it tends to be pretty uniform. There's not.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if BCU has a brand that is strong enough and a candidate that is strong enough to win a riding on their own when things are going so badly for them. We'll see. They still got a lot more money than a party with this amount of support should have. We mentioned it last week. They still get a public subsidy, and their fundraising is okay. It's better than the Greens, but I just don't know how you motivate people to vote for a party that seems to be dying. They still have a lot of Liberal supporters. If you the breakdown from Leger showed that a chunk of federal Liberal supporters are still sticking with BCU, but that's also not a great party to be getting your support from, because they're also going down. I just have a lot of trouble seeing BCU winning anything. If they do, it's going to be lucky vote splits that work in their favor, I think.
When I look at the BC polling, I mean, I'm just trying to pull it up because I just thought. When I look at the last 3 months of BC polling, let me. Okay, so BCU was at 20% in November from Angus Reid, then 17% Research Co in January, then 15% Research Co in April, then 11% Research Co in June, and now it's 10 or 9% according to the latest polls. When you look at the chart on my website, you really can see two drops. The first one is right after the rebrand, and then it was in the mid-20s and low 20s in the fall, and then it started falling again. I think many voters really didn't like the rebrand, but then it's more than just the rebrand when you're falling that high. I mean, the Conservatives, Mr. Rustad, whatever you think of him, he managed to build a team that seems attractive. I think they will have some issues in a campaign because being a new party, you have some opportunists in there that perhaps are not the team players. They have a lot of unproven candidates, but they could. My projection right now is 53 NDP and 30, I want to say 39 or 38 or something like that for the Conservatives and 1 for the Greens. So considering the threshold for a majority is 47, that's a close result for the NDP. It's not the blowout that we thought would happen back in the fall when I think I reached 80 seats in the projection for the NDP. The vote splits are not there anymore with BCU. And
No, it's
BCU,
going to be competitive.
Shout out to them. They asked me to switch the colors on my website. I used the pink and teal, and they want to go back to red. It's as if they wanted to be liberals. So
They're teal to me, and that's how they're sticking.
they're teal. Oh yeah, you have teal.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sticking with teal.
What do you have for
Sorry.
the conservatives? You have like
It's a nice
navy
It's
blue.
a nice dark blue. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, me too.
See, they got
Okay.
they got a good color. Though red, you shouldn't give up on red as a color. There's been studies there was studies of boxers in the Olympics. They wear red or blue, and disproportionately the boxer wearing red won. I think it has something to do with the color and how people react to it. So anyway, if you have red, you might not want to give it up because it's actually a better color than teal and magenta. But anyway.
I remember Joseph Angolano from Palace Data wrote about in his BC poll. I think it was in the late spring. Like, respect your brand, even though it has warts. Like the Liberal brand, in Western Canada, the Liberal brand is not doing so well. I mean, it disappeared from Alberta and Saskatchewan. But to choose between a centrist-ish Liberal brand or a completely new pink and teal BC United, which sounds like a soccer team, So again, the problems of BC United was not just the rebrand, but it really didn't help. And I just wonder, I mean, we'll get there at some point. The election is on October 19, but what happens to a party when it gets 0 seats? Like, we rarely see this. It really goes to 0. And it was in power not so long ago. That's the thing. I mean, the Alberta Liberals going to 0, okay, fine. They had at most a handful of seats for many years. But this party from power to almost power to official opposition and potentially 0. You can't come back from that, can you?
No, it disappears.
Yeah.
It'll disappear. It happened with social credit in the 90s in BC. Because there isn't the pre-existing brand to keep it afloat. The BC Conservatives managed to survive in part as a party, even if they were not a major party. But they lost most of their seats. I think it was like in the 50s, and then once in a while might win a seat or two. And then in the 70s, after the 70s, never won any seats until we'll see if they'll win seats in this election. But the fact that it kept on existing was in part because the federal party existed. And the brand was there to keep it afloat. But if BC United goes down to 0 seats, it'll just disappear. All those people will go over to the Conservatives, and the ones who are diehard kind of centrist liberals might get involved federally rather than get behind one of the provincial parties. I think that if they go down to 0, maybe they'll have a leadership race, and someone will come in and say, "Let's go back to being the BC Liberals," blah blah. Blah. But I don't know. I think this election might be the end of the party. Simple as that.
Get this. The BC Future Party. They have a federal cousin.